When the U.S. declared independence, Abigail Adams wrote to her husband, future President John Adams, "In the new Code of Laws, if particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion." John did forget the ladies in the Declaration of Independence, and Abigail's prediction came true. American women from all walks of life had to protest and endure imprisonment and abuse for the right to vote. The women's suffrage movement in the U.S. kicked off in 1848 when women demanded equality to men under the law, which included the right to vote. The women who demanded the vote became known as the Suffragettes. Over the next several decades, suffragettes formed groups, held protests, were arrested for illegally voting, and marched at Woodrow Wilson's inauguration in 1913. In 1917, at a protest in front of the White House, suffragettes were arrested, tortured in prison, and beaten by guards, in an event that became known as the Night of Terror. Many suffrage efforts were set aside during World War I. Around the world, women's strength was on display as they contributed to the war effort and kept their communities afloat, bringing global support to the movement. President Woodrow Wilson began supporting the cause, and in 1920, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote in the U.S. But the amendment didn't specifically mention race, so many women of color, including Black and Native American women who fought for suffrage, were left behind. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 finally granted the right to vote to women of all races in the U.S. on a national level. But there are still countless women in the U.S. who cannot vote, including migrants and refugees, women convicted of felonies, and even those without a proper ID. Despite the Voting Rights Act, women of color are still disproportionately disenfranchised. If you have the power to vote, don't take it for granted. Use that power to continue the fight for equality and help change and put new laws on the books that do, in fact, remember the ladies.